Hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp bringing you another video, and this time we are going to try to implement container insights and add X-ray because talking to Mesh, I really do think that X-ray is a lot easier when using Fargate, and if container insights is as inexpensive as Mesh was saying, I do believe that it is, it's just CloudWatch logs, we can get some great observability here, and so I'm going to squeeze it in here. I know we are full of stuff, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I've launched the project. I just noticed that I have these session manager files here for that plugin. I don't want those there. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So because that's not really code that should be in my repo. And if you have files that aren't supposed to be there, make sure you add them to your git ignore or delete them. But I'll just delete these. Should not be here. And we'll worry about that as we see more, or when you get feedback from me for grading, if you are eligible for grading. So what I'm going to do here is we know we need to, in order to do container insights, I assume we have to have X-ray, and if we don't, we should have X-ray anyway. And so I've worked with Fargate quite a bit. Normally when I instrument Fargate, I'll create, and you don't have access to this, I'm just showing it to you, is like I would create a CloudFormation template, and in there I would just have in my task definition a container defined. So we'd have our envoy container. We don't have to specify this because Service Connect takes care of it for us, but the old way you'd have to integrate with app mesh. So there is the old way of doing it. Then you'd have your application. So here you can see I have an application here. And then down below we would have X-ray. So this is the code that we are really interested in, is this X-ray code. So I think that's what we're going to carry over as well. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that we have to do here. No, I don't think so. I'm also just going to check this depends on if there's any other depends on. So you can have containers that depend on other containers before they start. So for instance, envoy needs to have, when you have it in here like this, you have to specify a bunch of log levels. I'm going to assume that Service Connect already sets those for us, so we're not going to have to worry about it. But what I'm going to do is take this piece of code and turn this into JSON. So I don't think this will be too hard to do. So what I'm going to do is go over here, and we're going to go into AWS on the left-hand side. I'm going to expand our task definitions. We're going to go to backend Flask, and we're going to look at our container definitions, and we're going to have to write a new one in here. So I can just put it above so it's a little bit easier to work with, and I'll just do this. So we need a name for this. This is going to be X-ray. So I believe that's all we called there. Yeah, it was called X-ray, so we'll put a name in here. This will be X-ray. Then there will be the image. And so for the image, it looks like there's a public repository, so public ECR AWS. Here, you'll have to type this out or, grab it from my code. I'm just going to open up our settings here. We are going to bump up. I'll just increase the size like this. Okay, and so we have the image there. What else do we need? We need to set it as essential. We definitely need it. The user, I guess it has to be 1137, so that's something else we'll do. Okay, so down here, we'll just essential equals true. User equals 1337, which looks like that spells for elite. I don't know if that's like a joke or not. 1337. I don't remember why that is. 1137 as the user. Why is it like that? So it says here 1337. Make sure that X-ray container is deployed with your application exposed on UDP port 2000 and runs on as a user as 1337. So that's the requirement for them. So that makes sense. Is it saying what port here? For X-ray, I don't see it. But we'll go over here for a second. Because we do port mappings here. So where's my port mappings? It's up. Port mappings. So for this, we see 3000. For X-ray, I don't see any port mappings on there. So I'm just wondering if that's going to work. Because over here it says, make sure that X-ray container that is deployed with your application exposes UDP port 2000 and runs as 1337. So, I mean, I don't see it in my other one, but that's pretty simple to do. So what we'll do is just copy this here, the port mappings. And I'm going to go over to here. And I'll paste this in here. I assume it works the same way for Service Connect. I guess we'll find out if that's true or not. So the container port's going to be 2000. We're going to call this X-ray. We'll say UDP. And just in case we are wrong, let's type in Service Connect X-ray configuration. We should probably do a little bit of research here. With existing ECS cluster. So I'm not 100% sure what it's expecting here. If we look up ECS Service Connect directly. Is it an ECS Service Connect thing? It might not even be an issue with that. I don't think that matters. Let's look up, well, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this works, okay? So we're going to just roll with it and see if this is going to actually deploy. Sometimes that's the way you have to do it. But it did say that that was supposed to be port 2000, so we will set it as that. I spelled UDP right. UDP, it's not UPD, is it? I'm second guessing myself. What did we say? This was, it was this here that we looked, I think, up. Page is hanging. Showing X-rays, AWS. X-ray. UDP. UDP. Okay, the app protocol, I'm not sure what we have to specify for that. Because, yeah, I'm not sure for that. So I'm going to just take that out, and we'll see if this will take. It might not. It might complain about it. So I'm going to go over to our week 5 instructions. And maybe what I'll do is also create a bin script, because I'm getting kind of tired of having to look it up constantly because I can't remember what the command is or just trying to find it. So I'm going to go to week 6 Fargate to find that code there. We will scroll on down. We will go into journal. We're going to go into week 6. There is no week 7. I mean, there is, but it's the same thing here, so I don't really need to have that there. And so what we're looking for is the register. Okay, so that's pretty simple. I think I'm just going to put it in here so I don't ever have to think about it again. So I'll go into the bin here, and I'll make a new file here called register. And we'll go ahead and copy and paste. And we'll go ahead and grab this command here. Okay, I have to think about if that's absolute. Probably not, so we'll have to go and just tweak that. We'll just define wherever we have that code that we use to get the right location. It's the build path here. So we have our absolute path here. And then, is this one right? This one looks wrong. Because we know that absolute path always starts here. I'm just going to fix this while I'm here, because this is going to go into the backend path first. We'll just copy that. I'm surprised this one's still broken. I thought we fixed all those. Okay, because that's what's correct, eh? So it goes to backend to bin, and then bin to here. I'm just to check our front end to make sure our build's correct there as well. Yeah, that looks wrong as well. So I'll go here, front end. No, I'm not very confident about this. I'm going to just go run this bin build here and just see what happens. Hold on a second. Print ABS path. Print backend path. Okay. I'll drag this out here, and I'm going to just type in clear, and I just want to execute this. I know this is not what we want to be doing. It's just more so to make sure that these pathings are correct. I don't want to run this problem later on. So I'll just do a build here. Probably needs $signs on this, like that. Echo, I suppose, not print. Unexpected. Do we maybe not need parentheses? I just started my day, so I could be wrong here. So this first one is the absolute path, which is the build file, and then the backend is the backend. So yeah, I was right. We were missing something there. So I just want to go to the front end and make sure this one's okay as well. So this one goes into there, which makes sense. This will be the front end path. And then we will do this. Well, I thought we fixed all these, but good thing we caught that. Anyway, what we'll do here is hit enter. And so we are in the back end. So I'm just going to go to the build here and just copy these over because this is technically what we want. The code is in the AWS folder. So I'll go here and do this. And then from here, we will say task def path. And so we'll do that, and we'll say project path, which will then go to AWS, which will then go to task definitions. I'm just not going to make a mistake. I'm just going to copy it here. We'll go ahead and paste that in. Well, I guess we don't need the, well, it's fine. We could also just do task path, I suppose, or project path. Maybe we'll just do this because we already have it defined down below here. And I'm just going to say task def path, and we'll bring this up. Cut that. Paste it. There's like a lot of ways you can write this, but this is the way I want to write it here. We'll say $ project path / We'll do that. Task def path quotations. And so then we can pretty much keep it on one line if we want. I'm going to leave it on a second line just so that we can save some space. I'm going to print out the contents here, or console log out that information. It might be good to bring our nice coloring in here. I thought we had it somewhere. Push, pull, register. I guess we kind of just stopped doing that, or it'd say what it was. But I'm just going to echo out the task def path here, so that we get an idea of what this is here. And so this is pretty straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to make a new file and register. There would be some fun way that we could make this into a single file, but I'd rather just repeat it repetitively here because I'd rather have clear code as opposed to more convoluted code. We'll go here and put in front end React.js. We'll save that. And so that will get echoed out as well. We'll go ahead here and see if we can now register that here. We'll have to chmod those files. So we'll say chmod u plus x bin backend register. We'll hit up here. I'm just going to go over to the front end. The front end, and hit enter there. And we want to execute this for our backend. So I'm just going to go here and type in backend, enter. And it says DR name. We have a DR name issue here for backend path. I guess I just didn't bring that line in there. Not a big deal. We'll go ahead and copy this. And we'll paste it in. And we'll hit enter. So on line 8, I mean, this is defined right here. I keep putting the parentheses. I don't know why I do that. And right now we're working in the front end, so this is also wrong. So we'll just fix that as well. I apologize for the mess. This is front end path. Front end path. Okay, we'll go back over here. We'll hit up. And invalid JSON received. That's totally fine that we got that. I guess the question is, what was invalid? We'll type in clear here. So invalid JSON. I'm not sure if we'd normally get more output from that, but let's go take a look at our task definition because clearly I've introduced some kind of mistake. I can see it right here that there's an issue right there. So we'll do that, take that out. We'll hit up, see if that improves it. Parameter validation failed for 1337, type int expected string. So we'll go here and we will just make this a string. There we go, make it happy. Hit enter. It seems to register without issue, so X-ray is now there. So we want X-ray to be deployed. We didn't update the build image, so really we just have to trigger a new deploy here on the back end. So that's where we're going to have a push. So I'm going to go bin here. And we will do a backend push. And here it's complaining because we're not logged in. So probably at some point we should just have it in our git pod YAML file. But for the time being, I'm going to do bin ECR login. We'll log in here. And now we can go ahead and do a, well, actually, we don't even want to push. We might have built our image locally, but we actually don't want to push. What we want to do is do a deploy because there's no new image to actually push, right? It's just that we have that there. Chmod permission to deny. That's the first time I've seen that on there. We'll do chmod on it. Bin backend deploy. Just make that happy there. Maybe because we moved the files around. I don't know why. And so now a deploy is occurring. So we'll go back over here. We'll update. So fix our scripts. Add register bash scripts. I bet you didn't think we're going to be doing this much bash scripting, but this is what we do in reality is we create a lot of those things. What's cool is creating all these files is that we're creating a basis to make things easier. You know, platform engineering is building a layer on top of that. Kind of the sense, in a micro sense, we're kind of doing platform engineering. I'm not there yet. We need to, that'd be building abstraction between the cloud, right? But, you know, maybe we'll get there. Okay, so this is deploying, and we'll need to see when this is done here. So it's mostly easy to observe this in ECS. So we'll go back over to our Elastic Container Service in our account. And we will go over to our clusters. I'm in the wrong region, so I'll switch down here to CA Central. Minor issue, but definitely figured that out pretty quick. We're going to go into CRUDder here. We'll scroll on down. We have these two services. The backend flash should be deploying. It says 2.1, so there's clearly more than one that should be there. Active 2 up here. I'll click into this. I'm going to zoom out so I can see what I'm doing. And so if we go all the way to the top, 2 healthy targets. We only want 1, but I'm assuming it's going to figure that out as it goes here. We'll go under our configuration tasks. We'll give this a refresh. 1 says unknown. This was 48 seconds ago. I assume that this one is waiting to pass its health check, and then it'll proceed forward. Let's click into here and see if it's launching more than a couple containers. So right here I see backend Flask and ECS Service Connect. I'm kind of expecting to see X-Ray here, and we don't. So what task definition did this use? It says task definition 12, so I'm going to open this tab here and take a look. Maybe it's not using the latest. And if we're in these here, we'll go here, and there is a revision 13. So it didn't pick up our revision 13, which I thought that it would use the latest. I'm actually surprised. So that could give us quite the mislead for when we're deploying here. So why didn't it take the latest? Let's go back over to our deploy, because I remember when we looked at this, it would have pulled the latest task definition, but clearly it hasn't. So what I'll do is I'll just type in clear here, and we're going to execute this manually to see what it returns. So all we need is that task definition name there. We'll go ahead and just take the interior here and paste that here as such. Hit enter, and this is returning 13. So what's going on here? This is 13. So I'm a little bit confused. Maybe the other one's 13, the one that was actually healthy, and the one that we were looking at was the old one. So let me go back here. This is back in Flask Unknown here. So I'll go back a couple steps. In the backend Flask here, we'll go to configuration tasks. This says revision 12. All it's running is revision 12. What the heck? It's supposed to be running revision 13. Up here it says task definition revision 13 for the service configuration. Down below here we can see that it's 12. Weird. Okay, so maybe it didn't take effect right away. Maybe I was under the impression that 13 was registered, but it didn't immediately register it. Let's try deploying again and see what happens. So I'll go ahead and we'll deploy it again. This is the thing with cloud. There are moving parts. It's very easy to think that you've done something correctly, and then it has yet to be correct. So you have to really have that confidence there. Now here I can see, can we actually see what it outputs as the task definition? Because maybe that would be good information to have. So we see the service arm here, the load balancer skipping, that's fine. Task definition here is 13. So what was the last one is the question. And we probably don't know, because as soon as we quit this, we wouldn't see it, right? So it would be good to know from the output, which one it's deploying. I don't know if this is going to be a continuous problem for us, but I'm just going to kill that for the time being. Because it's outputting the last command here, which is the update service. I mean, we could just print out the yarn here, and then we would definitely know. So that's just, I guess, the easiest way to do it, as opposed to seeing what it's deploying with, because that's what it's passing along. I believe the orange shows the name, or at least we can go back and figure it out that way. So I'm just going to type in echo here, and then above it, I'm going to just put echo, and we'll just say task def arn. And so there we'll have a little bit more information about what is going on. I want to bring those over into my other script so that we just get that everywhere as we're working on it. So yeah, just to rule that out as an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to go back over here to configuration tasks. We're going to give this a refresh. There should be more than one running. I'll give this a refresh up here. I'll give this a hard refresh here. I'm waiting to see that second one there. We did deploy the other one, right? It looks like I did. So maybe it's just taking some time to get started here. We'll go back over to services. Yeah, in progress. So it is in progress. It shows revision 13, so it knows what it's supposed to deploy. And we're just going to have to wait for that. So I'll be back here when this is in a different state, okay? All right, I've been waiting a while. And just notice here, like, I've just been sitting here waiting for this to update. But you have to hit the refresh. It still says in progress. Let's take a look here and see if there's any failed deploys. Nothing unhealthy here. So 2 targets healthy, so we're in good shape. I'm surprised it's not done. I've just been sitting here for a while. But down below we can see 13, so that is good shape. Let's click into it. I want to see that X-ray. There it is. So it has a status health of unknown because I'm not 100% sure what that would need to be done for that. Maybe I'm supposed to set a health check on that. I'm not sure. Backend Flask, that looks all right. Let's go ask ChatGPT if it can find for us what the health check should be. So, um, uh, health check for X-ray container in Fargate task definition file. ChatGPT is my junior programmer. I get it to go look for stuff for me. So here we have it on port 2000. I mean, that makes sense because that's what you'd be checking against, I suppose. So I can't see why that wouldn't be right. So I suppose that could be what we check on. Don't know, but I guess we'll just take it and see what happens. So health check starts here. I'm going to go over here and bring it in here, because it should get something back from that port, but it's communicating on UDP. So what would you get back for UDP? I don't know. Can curl get back UDP? Because it's TCP, right? Never thought of that. Curl is a command line HTTP client. Most versions of HTTP are TCP, but if you have the right version of curl, it can do HTTP 3. So I'm not 100% sure if that is correct. So to add a hex array file, use the health check parameter. We know that. Would curl work for X-ray health check? Because it's for a UDP port on 2000. To perform a check for UDP on X-ray, you can use NC, netcat. But how would it know that netcat is installed? Does the public ECR X-ray container include netcat? So, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there, but it'd be interesting to know how we could do the health check against there, because I don't think that would work. Task failed container health checks. Okay. Our backend Flask failed. That's interesting. Let's go take a look and see what happened. Surprised. We see these health checks happening, so these are all occurring. So I'm actually kind of surprised the health check is failing. Did it really fail on this? It says unhealthy. But the logs show 200. Crazy. You know, I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, because this should return back healthy because we can clearly see the health checks. There's no question about it. It's healthy. We're seeing 200 being returned. So I'll go back over here. I guess all I can do is redeploy it. So I'm just going to go do it from the console here. I know we can do it from the development, but since we're already over here, I'm going to just do it here. I'll go into backend Flask. We'll update this. We'll force a new deployment with the latest. Service Connect is turned on. That is correct. We'll do an update. We'll come back here and see if this makes any kind of difference. So we'll be back here, okay? I'll see you in a bit once this is in some kind of other state. I'm just going to monitor them here, okay? All right, so let's see what's been going on here. I refresh here. I see healthy for 12. I'm going to assume that we've had some more failures here because the other one's not showing up. So what we can do is go to all tasks and see what have failed. We have a failed task from 13 minutes ago, or 3 minutes ago, that is deactivating. I'm going to assume that it's the same problem. It's indicating that it's unhealthy. I don't understand what's going on. It should be working without issues. So if this is going unhealthy, well, how is that possible? You go to logs. It's showing health checks. It's showing health checks. Am I crazy? What could be unhealthy here? The container health check failed. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It's right here. Okay. Let's go over here. Take a look. All I could really do is just like revert our container definition. So if I take this one out, like we'd basically be taking it back to how it was. So I'll just cut this out for a second and save it. I'm going to go here and re-register. I'm going to register the new one. Register the backend. So that's 14. We're seeing it go through. That's good. I'm going to go back over to our cluster. I'm going to click into it. I want to see that it's thinking about 14. So we go into the backend here. We saw somewhere that it showed where it was configured. So it still says 13 here. I guess it's when we do the update, that's how it knows. So I'm going to perform that from here. The deploy. It's printing out 14, so I'm expecting 14 to be the one that it's attempting to deploy. Refresh that. This is set to 14. That is good. And I will see if this one spins up correctly. So it's really bizarre that the health check is unhealthy when it clearly is passing, but I guess we'll find out here shortly, okay? Okay, after waiting a little while here, it looks like we have a task coming here. It has a status of unknown. We'll go to our logs. No logs as of yet, so we'll just have to wait a little while here. We'll confirm this is running 14, which has X-ray removed. So we'll just give that a second, okay? All right, let's take a look if anything has changed so far. I'll give it a refresh here. And it's failing even just with 2 now. So what happened to my health check? It was fine before. This is weird. This is weird. We go to logs. I can see logs. What the heck is going on here? Let's take a look at the time this happened. So 11:32, 59. Seems like it happens pretty quick. We're seeing a lot of health checks. So it has a lot of time to determine that it's healthy, but why it's returning unhealthy is very, very confusing. AWS says things like maybe it didn't have time to instantiate, so you have to increase that time. What it's talking about is this information here. So we have the interval every 30 seconds, the timeout 5 seconds, the retries 3 seconds, period start. So it has a whole 60 seconds before it even tries. I want to put back in the container definition that we got rid of because clearly it's not X-ray that's causing the issue here. We could increase these numbers to see if it improves it. I could put this at a 15 second, but it just seems crazy to me that it's not picking it up. We can test it locally here to rule it out. So maybe that is something that we should do. So what I'm going to do is build it locally, and we'll push the image and see if that makes any kind of improvement. So we'll go here. And actually, that might be something we might want to double check, which is what version did it deploy with? Because it'd always be latest, right? So we wouldn't exactly know, I don't think. So if we go to the one that actually is running, go to back in Flask, because it never took down the old one, right? It just, it's been trying to spin up the new one. So we go to back in Flask here, and we go to configuration and tasks. And so there is one that is healthy. If we click into here, we can see it's task definition 12. But I don't know if we can see what it's using here because it's always going to be using the latest, right? It's not like it's tagged per version. Maybe that's where we're running into trouble here. So just let me think about this for a second. We will go ahead and go to our back end, and we will go ahead and build this. So we'll build it. We'll test our health check locally. I'm sure it's going to work. Once that has built, what I'm going to do here is we are going to then start up our Docker compose just for the other ones. And we can do that while we're waiting. So I'm going to do a compose up on selected services. And we're going to bring up our these two. We might not need anything, to be honest, to be running in the background, but just in case, I'm going to bring up DB and DynamoDB local. I want to start the production one locally. And so I'm actually just going to make a new script here, new file, and I'm going to just say this run. So I don't have to keep doing this. For this to run, it's going to be something like Docker run -rm, because it stands for remove. On the next line, we're going to do IT. This will be Docker or backend Flask prod. And then here we will have, is there anything else that we need? I don't think so. Let's go check. Docker run. Oh yes, the port mapping. So that's something we'll definitely want for that to work. So I'll go a line above here, and this is going to map to 4567, 4567. Crazy, we're having trouble here. Okay, so this is now saved. And obviously this is a new file, so I'm going to go up to here to a different tab. We're going to do chmod u+x bin backend run on that. Now let's see if we can execute that. Bin backend run. And it couldn't connect to the connection pool. That's because right now there is no, I guess we need the environment variables is what I'm missing here. But we don't have data seeded, right? So that's probably something we should just do quickly. So we'll do bin backend or DB setup. I don't think we need DynamoDB, but I'm going to set up just I'm going to seed the front here so that that's out of the way. We need our environment variables here. It's almost where it would kind of make sense to have a .env here, because we are loading so much stuff and now we have to do it through here and there. So I'm quite tempted to do that for both. Load an n.file in Docker Compose. I'm sure it will tell us in a very simple way. So in our file, oh, it would just be that. Okay, so maybe that's something we can do to make our lives a little bit easier. So I'm going to go here and specify a .env file. I'm going to do this for the backend. So I'll make a new file here and I'll call it .env. This is in the bin. I want to do it. Where do I want to do this? Because the Docker Compose file sits at the top here. So I can go here and say new file, and this will be .env backend Flask. And then we can have one for the front end called .env front end Flask, or front end React.js. And so now what we can do is specify that instead of the way we've been doing it this entire time. So here we can go ahead and just grab these out like this. We'll cut that and we'll paste that into our .env file. I believe env files use an equal syntax. So yes, it does. So what we'll have to do here is just bring the indentation back. I believe you can comment files out in these though. And we'll just change all of these colons to equals. Get rid of these spaces here. And so this should make our lives a lot easier. Okay, so now we have our .env for this one. So that is for the, did we put this in the right file? I don't even think I did. So I'll go here, cut it out. You're probably watching me going, Andrew, what the heck are you doing? We'll go ahead and paste that in there. We'll save this one so it's blank. We'll take the improved syntax here, which is just this. And this will really shrink our files here. So we'll go back over here into our backend. And we will paste this in here. And so now that is a lot easier to look at. Paste that in like that. There we go. This is not going to be .env like that. It's going to be .env backend, backend Flask. So that's the name of the file. We'll do the same thing for the front end. So I'll go ahead and grab these here. And we'll cut that out. We will paste that in here. So you can see that by making these bash scripts that we're really forcing ourselves to do things in a much more clean way. At least that's what I think anyway. And I'll go ahead and save that. I'm going to go at the top here, copy this, paste this in. We'll do front end React.js. Okay, so those are that really simplified that file up there for us, for sure. I guess the question is, does it still work? That'll be the next question. Let's go over here, how to pass an n.n file to Docker run. And let's see what it says for that. Pretty simple, that's pretty straightforward. So we will go back over to our run. We will paste this in, I'll put it here. And here we need to load the path to that file. So I'll just say like env path here. We'll just assume that we have it. We need to actually grab it. So we'll go up to here. So we have our absolute path, our backend path, our bin, our project. That's where we want to go. And then what we want to do is get the actual path to that file. So we'll say env path. M file maybe, because M is kind of generic. I just don't know if that's being used for anything else, so we'll do that just in case. And so I'm going to do project path here, and then it's just .env backend Flask. And so hopefully that is all we need to do that. I'm going to do a Docker compose down. We're going to make sure that those shut down. Great. Hit space here. And so now what I'm going to do is go back over here. I'm going to do a Docker compose up, and we're going to see if it, I guess it wouldn't be for the back and front end. So I'll just do it up regularly here for a second because I want to see if it takes those files without issue. So we're not really doing our build right now. I'm just doing everything up just to see, because we've changed that. I'll be back here in a second, okay? So it looks like we are running our application. Again, I'm just testing this to see if the environment variable file I'm loading here is working correctly. We'll open up this tab. Not seeing anything in here. That's okay. We'll go to Inspector and see what happens here. So it's just has failed to fetch data, and it could just be because we haven't yet to initialize our database there. So just refresh that. Probably just getting a 500 error. Oh, it says cores. It says cores error. So that could be the problem. But I mean, like we are seeing here that this is passing along our address. So I mean, our nvars must be set. The user is not authenticated, no current user. I mean, that is a different issue, but we still should see some data here. So what I'm going to do here is go take a look at the actual backend here, because we should be able to get in. But what we'll do is we'll just go into the backend here. We'll attach a shell, and we'll just print out the environment variables to see what's going on. So I'll type in env here, and I can see my environment variables getting set. So they are here, as you can see quite plainly. I'm noticing that I am exposing my secret and access key, so I'm going to go rotate those right away. But down below here, we can see in the backend URL, we can see that the GitHub URL doesn't have its values. And that kind of makes sense, because if we have this .env file, I don't know if it can load other environment variables in it. So in the front end, well, it specifies these here. So then why in the backend is it not working? Interesting. So backend URL, let me think about this for a second. So these should get ran at runtime, right? So these should not be available. Well, not at runtime, but well, I guess so, because it's a development server, so they do get loaded at runtime, not at the build step. Interesting. So it works for the front end, but not the back end. Did we update the front end yet? Is that the reason why? We did. That makes sense. The back end's there. Let's go take a look at the front end and see what is set or not set, I should say. So we'll go view the logs. Or not view the logs. We want to attach a shell. So we'll go here and attach a shell. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to check the envars in here as well. And so this one has 4, 5, 6, 7. So it looks like it's setting correctly. So what the heck? Why is one not working but the other one is? That's weird, eh? And I just want this out of here. I don't want to look at any logs. Just let me get out of there. Okay, so very, very weird. Oh, you know what? It's because they're here redundantly. So these are supposed to be commented out. So I think I just took those out by accident. And so it probably is working correctly. So that's the reason why, but I think our envars are loading fine, so that is fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do a Docker compose down. And now it is down. I want to selectively spin up just a couple services. Again, I don't think we need either of them up, but I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'll have the DB, I'll just put up the data. I'll put both up just in case. We'll spin those up really quickly. And just to make sure that that data is seeded, I'm going to go and do the setup again. So we should have seeded data, so we should have no issues on that front. Let's go ahead and actually start up our backend one. So we'll go here and we'll do run. We'll start up the production one locally because that's what we want this for. It doesn't know how to open that file. That totally makes sense. We should really make sure that that pathing is correct. So here, project is spelled incorrectly. So we'll spell that correctly so that it can actually do what it needs to do. We have another problem here. So we'll scroll up. Equals missing after the Postgres. Did we maybe bungle up this file here some weird way? Bungle. What the heck is the word bungle? What is the word bungled? Clumsy or incompetent? Yeah, I guess so. Where the origin of that word is, I do not know. Not a word I use very often. Bungled. So it's having an issue with the connection URL here. Missing the equals after Postgres in the connection string info. What the heck are you talking about? What do you mean it's missing? Missing that line there. Invalid daemon X-ray information. I'm not sure why that's showing up. We'll just type in clear here. I'm going to try to run it again, and we'll see what it says. So we're getting some daemon complaints here, which is totally understandable. For some reason, invalid daemon address at X-ray daemon. Oh, you know, it's because we're not running, I suppose, the daemon. So maybe we should be doing select services and also checking box on that. Maybe it's complaining about not having it. So we'll go ahead and do that really quickly. Great, and so I'll go back and try to start this again. Equals missing after this. All right, I'll play around with this. I'll be back in a second, okay? All right, so as a quick sanity check, what I did is I put these two prints in here at the init pool to see what the connection URL string is getting. And the other part of it was I had to redo the build because obviously we're changing the code. And then we do the run. So we go up here, we can see that this is the string that's being passed along. It's the same string here. I'm not sure why we're seeing double strings here, missing the equals after that. This just seems like nonsense to me because clearly this is passing the correct environment variables. So I'm not sure where else this could be coming from. So I'll have to look a bit around. Maybe we just have a red herring and something is causing an error that has no relation to this here. Let me go figure it out, okay? Looking at this a little bit more, just carefully, even though we have these errors up here, where we do see errors occurring is on the user's activities where we are doing these segments and subsegments. And I guess maybe it just doesn't like something to do with the way we are configuring X-ray. It's saying here invalid daemon X-ray at address or X-ray daemon at 2000 specified. Not sure why. It should know how to find it. Maybe it has to do with the fact that we are starting services up here and there's ones in isolate. I'm not sure if there's anything else that is missing here. No, so we just start that up there. And then for X-ray, yeah, it's just on port 2000. So there shouldn't be any reason why that's not working. We go over here, we see X-ray daemon is running locally. But just to satisfy this for the time being, I'm just going to go and comment this out. Maybe our X-ray daemon locally is not working correctly, and we'll have to figure that out as we work through this. But for the time being, let's just make our lives a lot easier by taking out the X-ray stuff. And so I still want to return the model. So results equals model, return model, just so my code still works. I'm not sure why that's complaining. We'll just go up here. Make sure we're at the right level indentation. That's probably what it is. We just have to be here. Well, there's a try finally. So actually, it would still be under the try here, and we'll just do this. So that's going to resolve that issue. So let's go up and hit build, and then we will attempt to run it again and see what we get. So fewer errors, which is nice. Invalid daemon address X-ray 2000. Oh, you know what it is? It's because when we use a Docker Compose, it knows what the names of these are, right? But then when you are loading them directly, it doesn't know that it doesn't know this host anymore because now it's just localhost. So we have this discrepancy where when you run a container individually in Docker Compose, it thinks of the host name differently. So give me a second, let me see what I can do about that. All right, so I've just been asking ChatGPT, like, why is it not working? And it's just saying, that it's not on the same network. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe there's some way to link an individual container to the Docker Compose network. I said running Docker Compose network, which is, I think it might have explicitly took the names Docker Compose network. So there is a network tab. So to link an individual container to an already existing Docker Compose network, you can use the network tab. So here's an example. In this example, the Docker run command starts a container from my latest images and connects it to the my Docker Compose network. I don't know what the name of the network is though. So in this example, services connected, compose file is already connected to the my Docker Compose network. Oh, so down below here, I guess you can specify networks. Well, that's kind of interesting. But this is for specific services, so I'm not 100% sure what that means. I'm going to go over here and take a look at what we have. So we have networks down below, services, networks down below. I would have thought it would have something to do with this. It is set to bridge mode, so everything here would know to talk to each other. Let's try to be specific. How to connect an individual container to containers running on Docker Compose in bridge mode. Can I even do that? See, that's what I thought. It was the link option. Okay, so before it did, above there it said links down here as well. So let's take a look and read about this. To connect individual containers in bridge mode, you can use :link option when starting the container. So link my existing service to my service. So in this example, the Docker run command starts a container here. Okay. Anyway, let me take a look, okay? So I'm still not 100% sure about it, but just going to Docker, it says the link flag is a legacy feature of Docker and may eventually be removed. So I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be using the link flag here, which is kind of interesting. It's a good thing that I looked it up and didn't 100% rely on ChatGPT, because apparently it doesn't seem to indicate that. But just 1 second here, okay? All right, so all I did here is I just clicked through to the many links it was saying to go to this new way. And so what it's saying is that, well, of course, link is the old way. By default, things go to the bridge mode. And so we can specify this network tab when we are, or flag when we are trying to connect to a specific network, a user-defined bridge network, but we have to create that first. And so it seems like there's a lot of configuration options that could be provided. I'm just hoping that the default one will work, but it looks like it's pretty much some kind of, where is it here? Something similar like MyNet or something. So let's just take that. Let's call it Crutter for fun. And we'll go over here, and I'm going to go and say Crutter, create CrutterNet. And so now we have a network called CrutterNet. And so over in our, what do you call it? Our bin script for our run, we can specify that network. Now, this is also interesting, is this actually is publish and not port. I thought that standard for port, but this kind of makes sense because it's publishing those ports. But we'll go here, and I'm just going to give it the full name so that I know what it is. And then here we'll say network. I'll say CrutterNet. Never done this before. We're just finding out as we go. Now, the next question is, how do we define what our internal network is? Kind of looks like it's creating an internal network here, no? Because it's giving it a name, and it's naming it Crutter. So maybe there's already a network called Crutter, and all we have to do is connect it to Crutter. So maybe this part is kind of useless. So let's type in Docker network list and see what we get. And so I see CrutterNet here, which makes sense. And then there's this one up here that says AWS Bootcamp Crutter 2023 default. I'm not sure if that is our doing or not, but I'm going to go over here. I'm going to just stop this. So I want to see that this is no longer running. It still is. So I'm going to go down here and say Docker compose down, or compose down, and we'll hit stop. And we'll go back over here and we will go and check what's actually here in the network. So bridge is here. That was the default one. CrutterNet, the one I created here. But up here we have one called AWS Bootcamp Crutter 2023 default. So it looks like what it's doing is it's creating a user-defined network here with its own name. It'd be nice to change the name of it. So change the name of the user-defined network in the Docker compose file. I didn't think we were going to get this much into Docker networking, but hey, knowledge is knowledge. We're just getting smarter by doing this stuff. So we'll go down below here and right here, the my network name. So I'm surprised that it has all that stuff on there. If we go back over to here, let's go over here and just see what the difference is. So this says internal network, but down below here, this just says my network. So what's going on here? Networks. Networks, my network, alias, stuff like that. Yeah, I guess I need to understand the networks a little bit better here. So Docker compose networks. And see what kind of options we have here. Networks. Specify custom networks. So instead of just the default app network, you can specify your own networks with the top level networks key. This lets you create more complex topologies. I don't want something super complex. I just want to be able to do stuff here. I just assumed that because we had this internal network here, that just meant that it was internal. Docker compose. I thought that was like a special thing. I can't remember where we got that from. Internal. I don't think that's anything. I think that's just the name. Yeah, I don't particularly see anything there. Let me just read through this for a second, okay? I didn't learn anything that interesting here. I guess this is just a name. It just says internal network, but there is one for default. So I'm going to go here and just call that default. And I'm going to go and we'll go back over here and just do a Docker compose up. It'd be nice to have like a shorter name there, but I don't seem to be able to figure it out. I'm actually just going to put an X in here. I'm just curious to see how that would propagate for those names there. I'm just going to start up the database. I just want to keep this nice and simple because I just want to see what network gets created here. So I'll hit Docker network lists, and now it's just called CrudderX. So that's interesting. I guess internal network was maybe a different network, and now we can name this something else. I'm going to name this CrudderNet. And now what we can do is, well, this should work, right? This in theory should work and work on 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm hoping that these names, which become the host names, will map for those nvars. And then we don't have to flip between those things multiple times, which is kind of annoying. So let's go ahead and try that out. Now we aren't running the database, like all the stuff we need. So I'm going to go back over here to where Docker is running, say compose down. And we'll go back over here. I've been doing the down manually like that because it's running select services. I suppose we could do it from here, but that's just what I've been doing. We'll go and checkbox back on X-ray. Maybe our X-ray code was fine. It just couldn't resolve because of that host name. And we will see what happens here. So those services are running. I'm going to go back up to here, and we will want to run our... Ooh, it's not auto-completing, but we'll do bin db setup. So we have our setup going on here. That's great. And now I'm going to do a run. I don't think we need to do a build for any reason. And so this should be on that new network, but is it? Doesn't look like it. Let me make sure that network exists. So Docker network list. Oh, it says CrudderX still here, but also has CrudderNet. What's going on? Doesn't it delete the old ones? We'll do compose down here. We'll go hit up. CrudderX is still here. Why is that one still there? Docker network delete CrudderX. Or remove. Let's just make sure this is all cleaned up. And maybe because that other one existed, it conflicted. So like the old one we didn't delete, and so it couldn't connect to that one. So what we'll do is go back and do our Docker compose up here for our select services. Maybe they're still running, so I'll do a Docker compose down. I'm going to make sure that those have shut down. Looks like they have. We'll hit escape here, get rid of that one. We'll go back over here, do a Docker compose up select services, and we will choose those ones and hit OK. We are going to check to make sure that this new network exists. It is there, and it's probably now mapped to the correct one. We have CrudderNet here. Let's go see if it will actually connect to it. And we're not really getting where we want to get to here. Am I forgetting like a backslash anywhere here? No, those look correct to me. So yeah, this is a little bit of a pickle. I'm going to stop the video here. I'm going to go get Baco to help me out with this because I'm terrible at networking. I'll be back, okay? All right, so I'm back, and I did solve the issues, and it was a red herring for sure. So the issues we were having was those errors throwing up about X-ray and stuff like that. And I mean, there was a little bit more networking stuff that we had to do, but one of the issues was the fact that that N file that we were trying to load in here, where we were trying to do, what do we call it, N file, and then load it up here, it just did not work. For whatever, so what happened was when I looked at the file, and maybe we can revert this to kind of go back in time here to see what it looked like. I just don't want to have to redo this. I'm just going to undo this to the point here. To what I had before here. 1 second here. Okay, I'm just going to paste this old stuff down here so I don't have to redo it. Okay, so this is the command that I do want to happen. But the thing was, when I was running this, what I found out, and I'll just do a bin bash here so we can debug this. But what I found out is that, and I'm just going to make sure that the container is not running. So I'll just stop it here. Stop. That's right. I could have just quit it here probably. So if we were to run that again, this is going to shell us into this environment here. So I'm inside here, and if I type in env, you'll notice that these variables have not been substituted with what they are. And so when we use Docker Compose with env files up here, it does that. It'll take the substitution in that env dot file and translate them over. When using the run command, it doesn't do that. I tried to find out how you could maybe pass a flag or do something. There's nothing for it. I'd have to write an additional script to do the substitution. That's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. It'd be really nice to have consistency so we can use one env file. We could take all of our environment variables and store them in that env file or generate them out. I don't really like doing that because I mean, I suppose we could just generate it out every single time, but that's kind of frustrating. I'm just trying to think about that for a second. I suppose we could do that. We could do that. Again, it's just I want to have a single file that I can use as opposed to having to use multiples. But then we would have to do the substitution ourselves. But it really just depends on what's available for us. Now, if I'm using something like Ruby, it's super easy for me to do. And we could introduce a new language, so that could be something that works. I'm just trying to decide if I want to do that or not. Let me think about it. You know what? Let's go do it. Screw it. Let's just do it. Let's create template files using Ruby, because we have Ruby in our environment already, so that's going to be very easy for us to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new bin directory here, and I'm going to, in maybe backend here, say new file for the backend and generate env. And so I want this to execute Ruby, so I'm going to go over here and say create a Ruby script that generates, that renders an herb file as a Ruby bash script. Okay, and that should generate out something for me here. I'm looking for the shebang. What should the shebang be? Oh, there it is. Well, no. What is the Ruby? You know what? I think we can guess what it is. I don't think it's that hard to figure out. So if we go over here, we have the Python one somewhere. Anywhere here? Python? Can we find Python somewhere here? Come on, Python, you're somewhere. Here's one. And I think we just put Ruby in front of here and it probably should work. I would think, anyway. So what I'll do is I'm going to go over to our backend and we'll have generate envs. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in. And I'm going to just change this out to Ruby. Now, I don't remember having to do it this way, but I'm sure it will still work. And I'm just going to do a puts here. So that's how you say in Ruby, like hello world. You knew I couldn't get through this entire bootcamp without doing some Ruby. Are you serious? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is see if this works. I'm going to do chmod u plus x bin. Come on, backend. What the heck is going on here today? Am I in the right place? No, I'm not. I'm not even in the right directory anymore. cd dot home workspace. Where the heck did I go? Why does it say root? Exit. Oh, there we go. I was somewhere else. I don't know where I was, but now I'm back to where I need to be. Oh, because we were shelled into that backend. So I just want to make sure this is working. So we're going to do chmod u plus x bin backend generate env. Great. So now I want to run it, make sure it works. It does, hooray. And so we're going to use Herb. So Herb is a templating language that is very easy to use. And it's built into the standard Ruby library, so we don't have to install any gems to use it. We'll go over here and see what we have. So here it reads a file from a location. So that is correct. And I'm just going to close out this file and make sure that it shows my Ruby highlighting. There we go. That's a lot nicer. In Ruby, you don't have to put parentheses on anything, so I like to do this and take them out. And so this one needs to load the .env file for this. So we'll just say .env backend Flask. And I guess this would be the herb template, because that's what it is. Script name, args, I don't care about that. I just need to render it out. And so this is where we can do our bindings. Okay. But how would this work? Because it would need to read all the environment variables in the file. So pass all envars to the bash script for the template to render. Let's see how that would work. Well, we know .env or env is how we get it. So you can use env to access all environment variables in the Ruby script. In this example, env global variable is used to access all environment variables. The result binding method is used to pass both the define variables and all the environment variables to the herb template. So I guess the thing is that it would already know what all the envars are. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick test here to make sure that's true. I'll just say env, double quotations, and this is going to be, let's say connection URL is an example of one, connection URL. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. Yeah, it already knows what they all are, and so it probably already has them in context. Great, so we're going to have this env herb template here. And so what I'm going to do is go here and make a new file and put that there. And this is going to look very similar to this. Okay, I'm going to paste that here. But the difference here is that instead of doing this $sign here, the syntax is going to be slightly different. So it's just going to be this instead. And that's how we render in herb templates. It's just like you do this. And so then we can just do our environment variables as we would, okay? So for this, we'll do that. It's the easiest solution, to be honest. For me, I should indicate that. Doesn't matter if we do singles or doubles here, we're just gonna get them in, okay? And so the idea is that we will go ahead and substitute that for all of them, and that should get us a better result. At least that's what I think that's gonna happen here. So we'll go ahead and get to that. This is the same thing, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that like that and paste it like this. Great. I'm taking code spaces out of here for the time being. And we'll just continue down this route. We could probably do a substitution to do this a lot faster. I'm just going to manually do it. I apologize if it is boring, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to get all the ends first. And I think that is all the substitutions I need. We do have the connection URL up there. AWS endpoint should be set, so we'll uncomment that. We don't want to use prod here right now, at least not. Okay, so this is our herb file. And so basically, if we run this, it binds to the local names or the context here, which will have the env set. So I think that this will render out. We do need to save this file somewhere. So down below here, if we go up, it should render an herb file and save it to a specific directory. Hopefully it can accept that spelling mistake there. And I suppose that's the way we can do it. That's probably fine. So let's just go here and grab this. I'm just going to write here the content instead. And then the path here is fine because we're just going to be rendering it where we do need it to render in the correct directory. So I'm not exactly sure what directory this would render it in. So for the time being, we'll just go here and say file name. And I'm just going to call this .env backend flask X on the end there, just to see what happens if I name it that, okay? And we'll just say file name. And then we will say content here. I remember there's like an easier way to do it. I'm sure if I looked it up, there's probably another way to do this in a simple script, but this is still pretty simple. So we'll hit enter here. It has a problem on line 6. Template is there. Content is there. Oh, it's with our actual, our file here. So on line 12, here, there's a problem somewhere. Actually, it's on a lot of lines. Get pod cluster host space. So we have a syntax problem, line 8. Unexpected constant expecting here for this line here. Oh, you know what? It's missing. There we go. So we're just missing the one here. So you've got to be careful that you get them all. And we will hit up. We'll generate this out. No errors, and it actually generated right in place. So it generated where the file was, which is exactly what I wanted to do. And so then it's expanding all the values here for us. And so that is perfect. So what I'm going to do is delete this one permanently. I know this one can do substitution, this one here, but we're going to delete that as well, delete that permanently. I'm going to make a new folder in here called herb. And I'm going to then just take these two herb directories here, I suppose, and drop them in there. I mean, that's one of our herb files. The other one is going to be very similar. I'll go here and we'll say new file here. We'll say .env front end React.js herb. And I have to get on another call with one of our guest instructors. So I'm going to just stop the video here and we'll come back to this in a bit, okay? All right, so I am back. Apologies, I was just talking to Chrissy about CDK, which you will learn about soon enough in the bootcamp when we hit our serverless pipeline week, which is going to be really fun. This one we're bringing over, and we need to also translate those files over. So we want to get this env thing in here, and we'll do this. And we'll go here. We'll do that. The backend one here is, that's for code spaces, so I'll take that out. And we'll go ahead and grab that like that. All right, so that file's there. I'm going to go over to my front end, and I'm going to make a front end. No, it's in our bin directory. In our bin directory, we want to have a generate env, just as the other one here. Okay, and so what I'm hoping is that these will generate the appropriate files. I'm going to add to my git pod here to ignore .env files that end with that extension. So it should ignore those two files there. But they don't end with .env the way I did it, do they? No, they don't. So maybe I should do this the right way and actually put it on the end as an extension. That would probably make more sense, right? And so, and those files don't need to be we'll make them hidden like that. So we'll do that. So I'll do that as well here. So it's a lot less weird. I mean, we don't have to have the period in the front. There's no reason for it. So I'll just change it around like that. Same thing with this. And we will go back to our herb directory here. I'm just going to rename these a little bit. So say env. So back end and front end. We'll scroll up here. And we'll go back here. We'll type in clear. And so no such file directory, backend env.herb. Okay, so we messed up the folder files here for a second. So I'll go back here and take a look at what I named wrong. So backend flask.env.herb. I mean, that looks right to me. I'll double check this. Backend flask.env.herb. Oh, but we put it in an herb directory, right? So it wouldn't know where it is now. So what if I do this? Would that resolve our issue? There we go. Where did it output the file, though? Okay, I mean, let's just delete this one out as well. Where did it generate it? We'll go to the build here, and we'll just take a look at where it's gone. So we don't see it generated. Let's try this again. I guess it wouldn't show up there because we'd be ignoring it, right? So is it down below here? Yeah, it is right there. Okay, so I'll go ahead and delete this permanently one more time. I'll hit up, and it will generate out here. Now, the thing is that these bin scripts, we can execute them from anywhere, but I think that if you were to run this somewhere else, it would probably dump it where you wouldn't expect it to be, but I'm not going to worry about that, okay? We'll just keep our script simple, but there is that kind of deficit with that. So we'll go into our front here, and we'll say herb. And so now we have the bin backend generate, and then the bin frontend generate. Frontend. Oh, we have to chmod that, don't we? Chmod u plus x. There we go. And so here we have those two files. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that these get generated when we do our git pod YAML. So what I'm going to do here is go to my git pod YAML file, and I want to run those there. They need to be there when the environment spins up. All of these, actually, these are in init. They're supposed to be in command. Not command, but the before, and I just never changed them. You're supposed to change them over if it's an issue for you. I never run into this issue because I rarely close my environment and come back to it because I'm not using it in the same way that you are. But yeah, those get moved to before as they should be. But the other part is that we need to run those bin scripts. So I can do this right here and put it on the command. So I'm not on that one, but we have AWS CLI, Postgres. We have the front end. And we have the backend Flask. Before I CD into those, I want to generate out those there. So we'll type in, well, we could do source like this here. That's probably how we should do it. And we'll do bin front end here, and that will be generate env. Generate, that looks right to me. And we'll do source here, and this will just be backend. And then those files will be in place for us to use, which is what we would like to have. Okay. So we will have to test that by relaunching the environment here, but I don't want to muck with anything we've been doing. So those are now in place. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly run those again. So in my Flask app here, bin, clear, bin. Why won't it? Oh, I gotta go up a directory. That's why. Bin, front or back end, generate env. Great. And then we'll do this up again. Front end. Great. Okay. So now we're generating out these files manually. Where's the backend one? Oh, it's here. Yeah, they don't line up exactly the same way, but that's okay. So what I want to do now is go back to my Docker Compose file, and we will specify these to be, instead of this, it'll just be .env. And then down here, this one would be .env. For my run step here, instead of having to do all this now, which was what that solves the issue, but we can now use our M file the way we expect it to work, or at least that's what I think. So I'll bring this all the way down here, and I'll just delete these lines here. And so what we're expecting is what we had before. This has the bin bash on it, so that will shell in right away, so we can take a look and see if those environment variables are being set. I guess I could just run that now. I don't think I need to be running the other stuff for that to work. They are running, so I guess we could just run it against that really quickly here to see if this end file is working correctly. So we'll do bin backend run. Oh, this has been changed, right? So now this is now backend env. I'll go do that for the other one as well. This would be run under backend or front end. Oh, we don't have a run for that yet. We'll work on that in a second. So we're in here now. We'll just type in env, and I'm seeing my environment variables the way I expect them to be. So that is good. We'll type exit here. And now I want to make sure Docker Compose still works. We'll have to make sure that this is also working for our other one. Before we do that, I'm just going to go and make a new file here and call it run. And then we can just paste this one in here. And whoops, did not take. You know, the copy paste with me never works half the time. We'll go ahead here and paste it in. And instead of this, we'll say front end React.js. And then this one will be front end React.js. We'll have to go back to our other one here and take out the bin bash. Okay. So now we'll go back to our Docker Compose YAML file. There is some interesting things that are worth showing you that we might have done off screen, but What we absolutely have to make sure is that we set up our own user-defined network. Okay, so this is very important because in order for that other one to connect, we have to set it to have the same network, and we were doing that before. So I just want to show you, call this CrudderNet, call this one CrudderNet. If we type in Docker network list, we can see the list of stuff here. So this is what this one created here. Sometimes I notice if I turn this off that sometimes it might leave one there by accident, and so I have to delete it out. If we didn't have this network here, it would actually create a default one for us that has a big long name. But here we're explicitly naming it. Also, what I did was I went through and explicitly set the network for CrudderNet. I'm not sure if we have to do that, but we have it in a working state. I don't want to risk it by taking it out. So make sure you go through every single service on here and add this CrudderNet on here so that we're ensuring that it is going to connect to that network, okay? Something that's very useful for us to see is the Docker network inspect. So if I do this, I can type in .work network inspect and type in CrudderNet, and it will show me, if I scroll up here, it'll show me information. It'll show me like the IP addresses, the names that they're showing up here. So I don't know why, but DynamoDB local always shows up this, and these other ones, they get renamed. But that's not necessarily the host names. It's just the names that are showing up here. But notice that we don't have our backend one. So if we go back over here and then we go and do a backend up, or run, sorry. This one did not connect. Oh, we're getting this issue again. But I thought we were past this problem. Let's go back to our run here for our backend. And that's weird. Let's do bin bash. We'll hit up again. env. AWS X-ray URL. I mean, it is showing stuff. It looks like it should be working, right? Because these are being set correctly now. Type exit here. Oh, we'll take this out here, and we will hit up again. And now it's showing me problems. So that's interesting. What could be causing that? X-ray 2000. So one thing that we can do is we can use a BusyBox to debug these connections. So we do believe that the nvars are being set correctly now, but what I want to do is just have a utility script. So what I'm going to do is in here, I'm going to make a new one. And I'm kind of tired of having these little, I'm going to leave this alone, but we'll make a new one here, and I'll just say BusyBox. And we'll just add a BusyBox one here. So going back into our run statement, I'm just going to grab all this code here. We're going to go down to BusyBox. I'll paste that in, and I just want to get rid of this stuff. I don't need to load an mfile, but what I want to do is run BusyBox. Is that how we run it? Let's just double check here. Run BusyBox Docker run. Let's see what we get. Oh, it is just that. Okay, great. So this will launch up BusyBox. It already knows to shell in right away because it's used for debugging. I talked about it before, saying it'd be great for us to use it, and so now this is our opportunity to use BusyBox. So I'm just going to chmod this file here, u plus x, backend, or just bin BusyBox. Okay, great. And so now I can just do bin BusyBox, and it should connect to that network. So if I hit enter here, it's in. What we can do is go to another tab, and we'll hit up on the network here, and let's just see if it's connected now to this network. So we go up here, and I'm looking for BusyBox. So containers, DynamoDB local, and this is it here because it just gives it some random names. This is called Clever Hodgkin. Not sure why it's called that, but that's what it has done here. And so what I'm going to do is go back over here, and I'm in BusyBox, and we can just ping things. So I can say ping the name that we expect it to be, which is like X-ray daemon. So ping X-ray daemon 2000. Or we don't have to do that. We'll just ping it. And we're getting a ping back. We can use telnet. We can say telnet x-ray daemon 2000 and hit enter, and it connects to the daemon. So I know that that address is correct and that this host name is resolving. So what the heck? Why is that other one not working correctly? BusyBox is working correctly and the other one's not connecting. So I have to hit E to get out of here. E to get out. Exit. There we go. So we now at least have a debugging script, which is quite nice. But the question is why is the main one not working? It definitely worked at one point, especially when I manually configured those nvars. So I'm going to run this again. And the problem is that if I shell into that environment, it's not going to tell me. I don't have like ping and telnet and those other things in that Docker file, especially that production one. So I'm not going to be able to determine what the issue is unless I install it temporarily, which we could do. Maybe that might be the easiest solution. We just have to remember to remove it. But if we go here into our backend Flask and into our Docker prod file, I'm not sure what this is running. So yeah, that's a good question. We'd have to look this up. So like this is running off of Python. So Docker hub Python. And we'd have to take a look at what the base image is running. We're not using Alpine. We're using like Buster or Bullseye or something like that. Anyway, I think we can use apt-get to install that. So what I'm going to do is go back here and I'm going to say run apt-get install curl. Do you want curl or do you want ping? Because X-ray runs on UDP, right? Let's see if we can install ping. Let's just do that. Okay, and if we can, let's install telnet as well, and we'll give it a -y so it does that. Hopefully that just works. I'm going to go and now go build this. Non-zero code. What if I do sudo? Try this again. Okay. Set up. Okay, cannot locate that package. It also could be this, so let's try that. Could just be from another name here. We'll just put -y. That means it just says yes to everything. Let's see if that works. No, it's not taking anything. I guess we could do an update first. Those always take freaking forever, though. And you know what? I'm going to take these up and put these up higher. Doesn't matter what our working directory is here. Run. There we go. Now it's taking it. So this will make our lives a little bit easier for debugging. Don't leave these in. Okay, so that rebuilt. And so now what I can do is I can go ahead and just run this. We need to have that bin bash on the end there. Otherwise, it's not going to know to go into the instance. So we'll go into bin here, into the back end, into the run. And we'll go down below here and we'll do bash, bin bash, bin bash. And we'll hit up. And so now we are in the instance. Do we have ping? Looks like we do. So I can say ping. We might not have access to the out. Oh, we do. We can get Google, so that's good. So we're able to ping that. So what I want to do is say X-ray daemon, and it is pinging it. So what the heck? right? Like, it's saying that it's there. But, you know, I remember when I fixed my envar file that those errors kind of like 100% vanished, and I'm not sure why. Unless I was doing bin bash and I wasn't aware of that. So what I'm going to do here is just type exit. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to hit up and try this again. X-ray daemon complaints. Okay, I'm going to do a sanity check. What I'm going to do is go down to our backend Flask end file here. Why is there a space here? Could that be messing it up? Let me go hit up here. Let's try this again. Still doesn't work. All right, so what I'll do is I'll copy the contents here like this. And I will take this out here like this. And for the time being, we will comment out this line. So I'll just bring this up for a second. And I'll put back in those ENVs, which I shouldn't need, but I'll put them back in. And then we'll go here, and I'll just run through this really quickly. And we will save that. And we'll go back up and hit run. Now it's running with no problem. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that bizarre? What is going on? What is going on? Seriously. Why does this work, but this doesn't work? It's the same stuff. I don't understand. Is there something wrong with this file? Like, did we generate it out wrong? Okay. Well, anyway, now that this is attached, we can go over here and then see that it's attached. So if we do docker net up, you can see it's right here. Okay. Why it doesn't work with the end file is beyond me. That is so confusing. All I can think of that is that some of this is not being formatted as we expect it to be. So here, like the X-ray daemon address is X-ray daemon :2000. It's the same story here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shell into this bin bash. I'm just going to do something weird. I'm going to go and shell into here. Type a clear. Okay, and it won't go up to the back to the command. That's totally fine. Bin backend run. Okay, I'm going to get inside of it. env. I'm going to copy the contents out here because something clearly is different. Something does not match. That's all I can think of. So I'll copy that out. I will go down here for a second. I'll just make a new file here. File, new text file. Every time I do this, it doesn't let me write though. Oh, maybe I got to name the file? Frustrating. File, new file, temp.txt. I'm going to paste this in here. So this is from from all envars passed in. Okay. And then what we'll do is we will go and go back to our run here, and I will go back and put this in here like this. Comment that out. So now what we can do is type in exit. We will run this again. And now I'll do env again. And so this time it's now doing env from the other side of it. Okay. So we're getting to extremes now here to solve this. And I'm going to just make another file here. File temp2.txt. And we'll paste that on in here. And so now I can just bring this one up here and this one here. We could probably do a diff as well. There's probably a way of doing a diff really easily. And we can just kind of compare the difference. So I'm going to look through it and I'll be back in a second, okay? So the one thing I observed that is different is that this one doesn't have quotations. This one has quotations. This is our end file. And this one doesn't. In fact, none of them do on the left-hand side here, which is interesting because when we pass them in, we have those double quotations. So that is something that is quite interesting to me. Now, not all of these things have doubles here. So if we go to, I'm sure something I've passed in doesn't have doubles on it. Do they all have doubles? And even this one like has the singulars. What the heck? That's really interesting. So do we even have to have quotations around all this stuff? I thought we're supposed to have those in our M file, in our M files. So what if I just take these out? Just thinking crazy here for a second, okay? I'm just going to take these out. This is auto-generated. It's not a big deal if we take them out. And what happens then? Would this still work? Would this load the file? You know, what I would like to say to Docker is, why is Docker run mfile not doing the same thing as the compose? That is so frustrating. And bad UI, can you fix that, please? Andrew Brown is asking. Okay, so we'll take that out just as an experiment, and we'll see if it can even run it like this. It is in there, env. Now they don't have them there. Okay, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work, but I'm just saying that that's an additional thing. I'm also noticing like these asterisks in front of here, for the AWS X-Ray URI. I can't remember if we're supposed to have those there or not, but we'll find out here in a second. So I'll type in exit here, and let's look at the other temp here. What does it have? Yeah, it has the asterisks and it doesn't complain. So now it's matching the syntax one-to-one. Is that going to help it work? I don't know, but we're going to try and experiment. So we will take this out here. We'll hit run. Why? You know, why is that fix it? I got it to work, that's fine, but why? Now the question is, will Docker Compose still work with this file? I don't know. So we learned something, that it's finicky as finicky. So we will go back to our herb templates and adjust those, because apparently you can't have the doubles or the singles. That's odd because like other interpreters of env files, they want you to have quotations around that stuff. But whatever. We'll give them what they want. Take this one out, this one out, this one out, this one out, this one out. You and you. There we go. I think they are all gone. So now it should match one for one. What a weird problem. I think like James, when we had him in week one, like which is second week, he was just saying like, I don't touch the network. You leave the network alone. And I can see why, because the networking stuff here is a pain, but we need it. We have to work with it. So now those are all taken off, and we would have to regenerate out those files, which is not a big deal. So we will go here and say generate env, and I'll go to my front end here and generate env. I'm going to check those files, see if they're off. Yes, they don't have the quotations on them anymore. The real question will be, will the Docker Compose file still work? I don't know. Let's take a look here, making sure that it's still ignoring those files. I do not want to commit my envs. Here, try not to commit your secrets to your repo, because that's real bad if you do. Okay, so what can we do here? We want to make sure that Docker Compose is working with it, because we know it's working in isolate with this way, but now has it broken the other way? I don't know. So I'll do a Docker Compose down. We just want to get X-ray working. And the reason we were doing this was to troubleshoot locally the health check. And we ended up doing a lot of stuff that I didn't expect us to be doing. So in my head, I think like, oh, we're going to do this for 5 minutes. And apparently we were spending tons of time somewhere else. So we'll do a Docker Compose up. And I'll see you back here when the up is finished, okay? All right, so let's see if this is still in working order. I mean, they all started up, so that's a good indicator that it's probably working. I'm going to go here and go to localhost 3000. It is working with the environment variable. So we have now achieved a way of loading our envars on both sides. We can attach the container, our production container, to our local to make sure that that is all in good working order. So that is great. And the reason we were doing this was to perform the health check to see if the health check would still work. Let's see what it would return back. So in our Docker prod file, we definitely don't want to have these in here anymore. So I'm just going to comment these out. So I just put that there just in case we want to bring those back. But our task definition, all it's really doing is performing a curl. So I just guess we should perform the same one. If we go into lib here, nope, services lib, where are we going? Our AWS directory, right? Into our task definitions, and we go into backend Flask. Oh, it performs this, bin Flask health check. Okay. Is that still, and I was wondering, does that still exist there? So we go here, and there's no more bin directory. We took it out of here. So there is no way for that to work. So I don't know where those health checks are coming from because we're not doing a curl, we're doing this script. And that's probably the reason why this isn't working. So down below here, we have the Flask script. And so this one really is supposed to belong to the Flask app. So I'm going to create a new folder here, call it bin. I'm going to then bring this health check up here. And we'll say move. And then I'll go ahead and delete permanently. Now, we could also install ping into the Docker file, which is what we did there. But we also have that script. So it's up to us how we want to go about it to check for it. The question is, like, should you put ping in there? Because, or not ping, but curl. Because we do have Python script. And I guess if somebody got in there, they could use printer echo to write new files. Though if we lock down the environment so they can't write files, that would definitely improve the security there. But anyway, we have Flask with the health check, and so we'll just have to adjust this so it actually is going here. And that's going to explain why we're having that issue. I think that's the reason why. What were we setting out to do originally anyway? So I'm just trying to remember in the beginning of this video, why? Oh, X-ray, right. We were setting up Service Connect, or not Service Connect, Service Insights or whatever, container insights, that's what it is. And we ran into this issue where we went totally far off, and it's because of this, because I did that. But hey, at least we made our app a lot better and we streamlined it in a lot of different ways. So yeah, you're here for the ride, I suppose. Anyway, that's adjusted, so we'll go ahead here and you know, make it so, like, what am I saying here? Generate out envars. Improve the Docker networking. Clearly did quite a bit there. So we'll commit that. We'll sync it. I'm going to just do a git status here. I just don't trust it in case I lost some files or something. Okay, so that is up to date. So the thing is, now what we need to do is we need to update the task definition. We don't need to rebuild the Docker image. Well, actually, we might because it contains the code, and so yeah, we would. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is do the rebuild. So we'll do bin backend build. And so that will build that. I'll be back here in a second when it's done. Oh, it's already done. That was fast. And then we'll do a push. There we go. So we're doing a push there. We are going to do a register because we've changed the task definition file. Is not authorized to perform pass role on resource-based CRUD task role. We never had this problem before. There was no issue before. What does the register do? Let's go take a look here. Let's read this error here. Isn't it weird, like we do this 100 times and now we just have a new error? An error occurred when calling the register task definition operation. Andrew Brown is not authorized to perform IM pass role. You know what? I've actually seen students with this error, and I don't know, and I'm getting, I don't know why, with an explicit deny at an identity policy based pass role. All right. I'm not sure why it's happening, but what I'm going to do, like clearly there's some permissions issue going there, and I just don't want to investigate that right now. So what I'm going to do is just delete the service. Well, would that solve the problem? Probably not, because we aren't creating a service here right now. We're just updating the register task definition. So I do have to investigate this. I'll be back in a second, okay? A couple things here say is that explicit deny takes effect over allow, even administrator access. So if there's an explicit deny, that could make sense. Down below here it says your account could be put into quarantine. I don't think I've been compromised, but I guess we can go figure that out. But you know, my keys are being seen every other day here, so who knows? So I'm going to go to AWS Amazon and let's take a look here and see if we can figure out these permissions issues. So I'm going to sign in here. And we're going to take a look at where this issue is being performed. So it says CRUD task role. Okay. So I'll make my way over to IAM. And I'm going to go over to my roles. We'll say CRUD task role. We'll take a look here. We do have an inline policy, which it was saying that could have been an issue there. There isn't anything here that would say that we can't do stuff here, but let's go back and take a look at what they were saying over there, if we can even figure that out. Where did it go? Come on, come back here. I guess I'll just copy paste this in the internet again, no problem. It was this. Inline policy, group policy that contains explicit deny. Yeah, I don't understand. Oh, it could be the service control policies. I mean, that's possible. I'd have to go talk to Baco, I guess, about it because that's my other account. So I'll be back here in a second. Okay, so I figured out what this error was. And the reason why this happened is that my keys were compromised. And you know who compromised them? Me! I compromised my own keys because these temp files I just created down here, I committed them to the repository here. And so if you click in here, you can see my secrets right here. So I've been trying so hard to hide my secrets, but apparently I messed that stuff up. But that's okay, because what happened was, as soon as I pushed this, AWS, their scanner, picked up my keys. And what it did was it went into my AWS account. If I go into my IAM role here, it added this compromised quarantine here. And so it found it and said, all right, we are locking your thing out so no more damage can be done. And that's really cool. I did not realize that it did that automatically. So I can just remove this group when I'm ready. And so I'll need to rotate out my keys. Try not to commit your stuff here. What we really should have is some kind of tool. I mean, we ran stuff earlier, right? Like we did a scan before for keys before. I just don't remember. I remember doing it. I think it was in this boot camp, right, where we used a security tool to check if our keys are compromised. But at least it did that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and delete these files here. I'm not really worried about these two files. We'll go here. Don't commit your secrets. Okay. We'll go here. I'm not sure if there's anything else that's really sensitive in here other than that. So these don't matter. I mean, I shouldn't have that exposed. It's not a big deal though, because it's on a free tier. This is a big deal. But everything else is not really a problem. So that's fine. Those will be gone. And what I need to do is I need to rotate out my key. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You've seen me do it 100 times. I'm just going to do that off screen here. And I'll be back in a moment, okay? Just on another side note, I can't even delete my security credentials directly from my account. I have to log into my root account for this account in order to resolve this issue. Not a big deal, though. I'll fix it. All right, so now that we're through those compromised keys, hey, it even happens to me, we can go proceed back to running that register script. So we'll go bin, backend, register, we'll hit enter. And so now it's registered the task, so that's something that we know we needed to do. We did a build, right? I don't remember, I'm just gonna do it again. Yeah, we did, and we'll then do a deploy. Oh, dang. No. I'm supposed to do a push. Silly me. Says we already pushed it though, but not 100% sure about that. So I guess we'll have to right here, because like I did the build. It says all the layers exist. Nothing's changed. Really? Okay. Well, we will go over to AWS then. And I'm going to sign in. We'll go over to ECS here. We'll go into here. It says there's 3 running. It's in progress, so hopefully this works. If it doesn't, I'll just have to make sure I push and try again here. I'm just not 100% sure if it actually took the updated code, which has the health check back in there, but we'll be back here in a second, okay? Okay, great. So it's saying unhealthy. And again, I just think it's because the deploy didn't actually happen as we thought it would. So also another thing is that we did change the directory of where that script normally lives, where it was in a folder and now it's not. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and try to update this again, because I'm not confident that it did what I wanted to do. So this is now changed to bin health check. I'm going to go over here into our directory here and just double check if there's any code that might matter, that might affect it. No, there's nothing here that would affect it. This should work as expected. So that's kind of interesting. Are we still running our server? No, I was just wondering if I could run the bin script to see if there's anything else that needs to be changed. But I don't think so. But, you know, I'm not confident that this build actually did what it was supposed to do. So I'm going to go back to the prod here. And I want to build again. So it's cached. And then we push. Says there's nothing new to push. Okay. I will do a new register. Make sure that that health check is updated. I'm just seeing where that health check is. We can also check through the UI as well. So I'll go over to my task definitions. We will look at our latest one. It looks like even if you don't change anything, it always pushes a new version. We'll go into this container here. What I want to see is health check information here. So here it will do a bin health check. It's still doing it at the timeout of 15. Let's do 5 because we really don't want to wait around forever. It worked fine before, so I don't see why we can't reduce the time on that. So I'll go back into our task definitions here, and we will just go and change the timeout to 5. And I'm going to go back and hit register. The question is like, is it using the latest code? And that's what I'm not sure about. I guess we can try to deploy it again. Now it says it's doing 17, so it should be doing the latest. Let's go back over to our service. And let's see what happens when this deploys if it becomes healthy. So if we go over here, does it show the task yet? It's provisioning it. So I'm going to go here and we will see the results here in a moment, okay? All right, so as you can see, this is now healthy. So I really didn't do anything. It just seemed like it picked up on the old image or the old task definition, which I don't know if that's just happening intermittently sometimes. But it seems like we now have X-ray running, which is what we wanted to do here. Did we put the health check on there? No, because the X-ray container does not have curl installed, so there is no way to, at least I don't know how to do a health check status on that. We could do X-ray container health check AWS and see if we could find an example. Done by using the AWS ECS health check itself, based on the X-ray container can be done using the ECS health check itself. Below is the health check command you provide to your task definition. But how would it do that if, like, how would it even know that netstat is there? If you're building X-ray Docker image, please include make sure you include the netstat utility Docker file. Otherwise, the health check will fail. Well, we're not building it, we're just using it. So I'm not sure if that would work. But, you know, I'd like to have more health checks, so let's go ahead and see if that works. So what I'm going to do is copy this and see if it works. Because, you know, again, I don't know what's installed on that image. I would assume that it doesn't have that. I thought we looked into it. But what I'll do is I'll go down here and we'll see if it just works. So go ahead and paste it in. Bring this down here. All we really need is this second line. So I'll do double quotations like this and double quotations like that. Okay, and let's just hope that this works. Health check for X-ray. Okay, and I will just hit quit on there, and we will go ahead and do a bin register. We'll just scroll this up here a bit. I guess we've introduced a mistake here. We're missing a curly, I think, and a comma, and that shouldn't be there. Let me just double check how it was down below. Oh, it has all these things in here as well. Okay, so we'll go up here, and I'll just, if it will let me go a new line, paste that in. I'll put a comma there. I'll leave the same intervals there. I don't know what we really should do for that, but I think that should be fine. It starts up pretty darn quick. We'll hit up again. We'll register that. It registered it. This is now 18. Let's count a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we can go deploy our thing here, and hopefully it will take 18, which is the newest one. Great. I'm going to go back over to ECS, and I'm going to go to the backend Flask, to the configuration tasks. And it should say that it'll be provisioning one here soon, and we'll click into it. We'll look at the results, okay? We'll see if it's healthy or unhealthy. All right, it's still provisioning. Let's take a look here, click into it, and see what we have. Still not showing the statuses of those, but I'll wait a little bit longer here and see what we get. All right, and so the health status here is still unknown. I'm not sure why, because it should be checking it. The order of these things kind of do matter, or they possibly do as far as I can remember. Let me just go check my repo. Yeah, so this is the repo, private repo you don't have access to that I was saying that I configured last year. And there might be like a depends on that might matter here. I just want to double check that. So X-ray depends on container name, X-ray start condition. Oh, for Envoy. Okay. I don't know about this. I don't know if we need to do that. Let me go to the next one here. Yeah, so that's the only case that I see. I'm not sure if we really do have to specify that, and we can't really actually configure the Envoy. So hopefully it just will work with X-ray. No issue here. I'm going to give this a refresh. And so we don't get a health status on this. So, I mean, like it should have said failed or not failed. Let's go in and check what this is doing. So we have Flask 18. We have X-ray in here, and it has a health check here. So whatever that did not work, okay? It didn't fail. It's not failing. There's no issues there, but it's still saying unknown. So I'm not sure what has to be done to make that pass. Maybe I can go ask the ECS developer advocate about that. But what I'm going to do now is go and get X-ray running on the other one for that. Did I save this file yet? No. But we'll add it to both, even though it doesn't necessarily work. I'm just going to expand that here. And so I want to add X-ray here as well. So just copy that and paste that. I really didn't think this was going to be however long it was to get this to work, but we did learn a lot more about Docker. This should be fine. I'm not sure why that is complaining about. Oh, you know what? I missed some of the code. That's why. So we'll go to the top here, copy, paste. We will paste this in here as such. Good. We will go now over to the left-hand side here. I'm going to go into my bin directory, and we'll look into front end. We have build, connect, deploy, generate, etc. I have my register, so we need to register this task. We didn't change any of the code, so we don't have to do that. Bin, front end, register. That's great. We'll say bin, front end, deploy. We'll just wait a few seconds. Deploy. Okay. So now we'll go back over to here into Crutter. If we refresh, this one still says it's in progress, so maybe it is waiting for that other one to get a healthy health check, which I'm actually surprised that it's still saying that it's in progress. I thought it would have been done. If we click into this, maybe because this one's not resolving. Interesting. I guess we should have came back here and checked that, eh? But anyway, we'll come back here. Maybe it'll just stay in progress forever. I don't know. I mean, while we're waiting, what we can do is take a look at our Docker Compose file, because we do have the X-ray daemon running here. And it's using the same, no, it's the daemon. It's not the same thing, is it? Let me go back here and check what it is over here that we're running. Oh no, those are the daemons as well. So if that's the case, then there is a daemon running. And why do we need multiples? I guess we need to have one per service. You think you just have one and then interact with it? I'm not sure if that's the case, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click here and attach the shell, because then we could just check if it has netstat in there. So type in netstat. No, it doesn't. So I don't know why they thought that that would work. So over here, this is never going to work. There is no netstat. I mean, we could build our own. It's kind of a bit of a headache to do. So maybe following is my updated, which adds netstat as the tool, net tools. And I was saying earlier, you know, I don't want to add things I don't need. So what I'm going to do is I think we're just going to have to take out that health check, because it's not going to work. And I'm not sure what to do for that health check. And I don't know if that's not great from a security perspective to add netstat in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. Okay. And we'll go back over here and we'll just update the task definitions to not have netstat. I'll commit that. And so now we basically have two commits going here in a mucked up state. So I wonder if there's a way for me to cancel those services. Not really. If we go down here, it's still showing the old one. So this is from 3 days ago. This is from 1 minute. It's just never going to resolve. So if I go down below here to this task, I'm just going to stop it. It's just never going to, it's never going to complete. Okay, and we'll go back over to our cluster here into the React one, and I'm going to go into configuration tasks, and well, where's the other one? It's not there. But anyway, what we'll do is we'll go ahead. Maybe that's the one I just told to stop, but I'm going to go and try and re-register these again. I know, it's just endless here. We'll say register. Great. And then I'll do a deploy. Great. I'll do a register here. Great, 19. And then I'll do a deploy. Great, so we now have 2 new deploys going. I'm going to go make my way back over to my cluster. And so they're both in progress. Hopefully the old one is gone and it's not trying to spin that up anymore. So I'll wait a little while there, and we'll be back in a second, okay? All right, I've been waiting a while here, and it's still going. Let's take a look here and what's happening. So I go into my configuration task. Hopefully I don't see 3 anywhere here. And so I see both that are healthy. So that one must be moving over pretty quickly to be in a healthy state. I assume that it's just waiting for the load balancer to confirm that it's healthy. We'll go down to backend Flask here and make sure there's only 2. Actually, there's only 1, which is in great shape. Let's click into here. That's fine that it's unknown. We're not worried about that. I would just like to see this say that it is not in last deployment anymore. But, you know, when we look here, there's only 1 task. So therefore, it must be running the new stuff, right? And they have X-ray, so I guess we're okay. We're in good shape. Why is it still saying in progress? Interesting. Anyway, we did all that, but we want to turn on container insights. So let's go to update our cluster and see if we can do it here. Monitoring, we can checkbox it on, so that's really nice. As far as I understand, it's just using CloudWatch, so that's where we might see additional spend, but I don't expect too much there. We'll go ahead and hit update. And so now container insights is turned on. And so the way we get to container insights is over at CloudWatch. So we can go over to CloudWatch. And on the left-hand side, we'll see container insights. Here. And we don't see any data here yet. So I think what's going to happen is we'll have to use the app for a while. But my point is that Container Insights is configured. I'm not sure how to get data out of this right now, but we do have X-ray, and so as we use the application, I suppose that we will see some stuff. I guess there's just no data in CloudWatch yet, so I guess probably somewhere here we have our log groups. So I'm suppose that we just need some log data. But I guess the question is, where would those X-ray logs go? If I check back here, I'm just going to double check if X-ray has to log anywhere. Well, no, because X-ray traces would go somewhere. All right. So maybe we'll just use our app a little bit and see if any data shows up, because that would be interesting. That was the whole point of this, so maybe we should try a bit. We'll go over to, well, it's on the main app, so I should be able to do API or just do crutter.com. And it should pull up the website. Website works, so we're in good shape here. Sign in. I'm going to just do andrew@exampro.co, capital T, testing 1, 2, 3, exclamation mark. Please don't go into my account and make funny things. We can go to our messages. Not that there's anything exciting there. We can go back to our home page. Oh, I didn't fix this yet. We should fix this at some point. But anyway, we did that, but I just don't know how long it would take for that data to propagate. We'll go talk to Baco here. Messages, was it messages new Baco? Write a message here, should redirect. It's not working right now for me. That's okay. I'm not too worried about it. We can always fix that later. But I did get it working at one point in production, so I'm not sure exactly what the problem is. But hopefully, if we can get X-ray displaying some information, we'll get some visibility on that. So I'm going to go over here and type in awsamazon.com, and we'll go into sign into the console, and we'll go back to CloudWatch and see if we can get any information out of Insights now. I can't imagine it's that fast, but I do remember X-ray showing data pretty quickly when it was working. So we'll go to Container Insights. Any data there? No, not yet. X-ray service map. Traces. Anything? No. Run query. Shows nothing. Crutter. Run query. No data. No information. Not 100% sure what we need to do there, but hey, we at least have X-ray instrumented, and we've turned on Container Insights. We will figure this out as we progress, but I do think we got value out of these videos, reorganizing some of our code there, even if it doesn't seem like much value right now. But we'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.